Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the PVP podcast where we talk about real estate, business, and everything in between. And today's guest, I have someone who I've been following online for quite a minute now. And I actually reached out to him personally to invite him because I wanted to pick his brain on the show. Bryce Kaminsky is a real estate investor and coach, a Canadian real estate investor and coach. And I've invited him on the show today to talk to us all about his business model and give us the inside scoop on how he operates his real estate business. Bryce, thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. I think we had it's the roles are reversed now. I think I interviewed you with Dave Duvo's podcast, right?
Yeah. That was my first podcast appearance when you
Mhm.
interviewed me. Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted to reach out because I've been following you online since then. And I wanted to reach out or have a conversation with you on my show, just to give our listeners a little inside scoop about who you are and your business. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you become where you are today?
Well, I guess I never really planned to be in real estate. I was having this conversation with someone the other day, and it's like you never really plan to be where you are. You just end up being kind of where you are depending on how things play out.
Yeah.
And so I'd been in the music industry like a decade, and it was getting to be about, I was like 30, and I was like, I'm not making enough money. I love doing it, but it's never going to afford me a house, car, etc. So I got to find something where I can use my like skills of people and put that together in some way. And so I eventually, from years earlier in the music business, I met Stefan Arnio. We were running the University of Manitoba Band Association at the time. And so when he graduated, I took over the band association, and then we were connected on Facebook. Back in the day, that
Yeah.
was like you were connected on Facebook, much like being on LinkedIn or something.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about moving to Vancouver or Toronto to continue the music thing because the scene's bigger. You want to increase your wealth. You typically go to where the decimal place shifts, right? And if you do nothing different, you just go to where the decimal place is different. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll go to Vancouver, maybe I'll go to Toronto. And then on Facebook, he posted looking for an acquisitions manager. And the only reason I saw that is because we were Facebook friends. And so I had been watching a bit of his like book reviews and some of his social media, which is, he was kind of a pioneer as far as like social media is concerned.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll do it. What do I got to lose? I already have a night job. I'll take a day job, right? Real estate is 9 to 5 and music is, 5 to 9. I was like, I'll take this on and see where it goes. And worst case scenario, I'll still just be like, not for me. And then I'll know and I'll go and do what I was going to do anyway.
Yeah.
But I started in with that, and we got along really well because we had both had that like musician background. He was the lead singer of his thing. I was the lead singer of my band. He had liked to mix business and music, and I was in the music business. And so we got along just on a fundamental level of like two guys who, I guess, two failed musicians chasing something different after music kind of went its way. And
Yeah.
so I got into doing acquisitions. He taught me the 8 weeks to cash, which eventually I learned and started coaching people with that. But it took me about 8 or 9 weeks to get my first deal in real estate, to find my first like fix, buy, fix, sell. And from that point forward, I did 9 deals in 9 weeks. So we acquired not a property a week for like 2 months. And he's like, okay, that's enough. Let's flip what we have. And then we'll get a bunch more and we'll do it over and over again. And so from that point, I was like, okay, I remember being in the living room of my brother's place and being like, anyone can do real estate. Anyone can actually do this. And it's not that hard. It doesn't take a degree or anything like that. It's really just kind of a brute force business. Like you keep looking and keep looking and you'll find what you're looking for. And it's out there. And Stefan's calendar, as he moved more into coaching out of real estate, because I was then doing the real estate, eventually his calendar got too full and he said, well, maybe you should start coaching the bronze people. And so I started coaching the bronze student class, which was like a 3-month program where we'd help them find their first deal. And then it just kept going. And I was the head coach for probably 5 years or so. And then, the business model changed. He got sick, passed away, and the business is now being run by Marcin Drods, if you're familiar. He's the current licensee of the Black Card information catalog. So if you're looking for that stuff, Stop
Yeah.
asking me for it. Go ask him for it. And good luck,
Yeah.
because I've had very little success in getting any sort of help about that from him. So maybe other people who are listening will have better help. But he's the
Yeah.
guy to reach out to. And so at that point I was like, you know what? I already know all this stuff. I already know I've coached hundreds of people over the line to get that first deal. And that's really the most exciting thing. It's like, okay, yeah, third deal, fifth deal, 10th deal, cool, building your career, awesome. But what really gets me excited is working with the person who's just getting in, who doesn't believe that it's real, and
Yeah.
you show them, here, this is where the first deal is. This is what you have to do.
Yeah.
So I specialize in helping people get their first deal done in real estate now. That's really all I do. I don't want to like hold your hand for 6 months or 12 months or whatever. And hey, if you want
Yeah.
that help, cool, I'll help you. But really
Yeah.
the focus is getting that first deal done. Because once I felt like, and maybe you had the same feeling, once you hit that first deal, it kind of unlocks it. You're like, oh, that wasn't that hard. I could do that
Yeah.
100 times.
Yeah.
I could do that infinite times now.
Yeah. It's like a snowball effect. You know what I mean? And it's like, and it's not even real estate too. It's the first of anything, right? Like they say your first 100,000 is the hardest to make. And then your first million is the hardest to make. Right. And so it's like that snowball effect. Definitely. I totally understand that. I started off my career as a realtor. Before I became property manager and investor. And when I was a realtor, I was specializing with first time buyers,
Oh,
and I could really relate about that
the,
first
the
deal.
worst
Yeah.
clientele to try to serve.
Yeah.
Can you
But
show
I
us
could,
15 houses and
yeah,
we're going to buy none? And thanks for your time. And you're like,
I quickly, not even a year after becoming a realtor, I quickly realized that I wanted to work with investor focused, buyers
they buy
over,
things. They actually
yeah,
buy.
like couples looking to raise families and stuff like that. Like the investor focused ones, I could relate with helping them get that first property, and
Yeah,
it's the most rewarding one too, right? The first, because after that it becomes like second nature. You know what I mean? So I
yeah.
find,
They don't even want to see it. They're just like, what are the
yeah,
numbers? Write
yeah,
the offer, let me know, and then I'll go and see it,
yeah,
if it's actually a thing. Did you ever, with real estate, I always found that it comes down to he who holds the contract controls the game,
right,
right? And so helping buyers find property is cool.
yeah,
Helping first-time home buyers find property is cool. But to guarantee yourself to get paid in real estate, you need to be the listing agent. Listing
100%.
agents always get paid. And
The
so
list to last.
yeah, right. They're always paid. And once they have the sign, bring me the offers. They just sit on their
Right.
throne. And so I really took that same approach, especially when I started working with my main real estate agent, David Thompson, here in Winnipeg. He had a very listing focused business
Yeah.
because he told me, like, again, the listing agent always gets paid. And we do some
Right.
buying stuff, and that's cool. But if you really want to make a career in real estate, you do have to work towards being the guy who holds the contract, both in the
Right.
private side and on the realtor side. If you're going to be a
Right.
realtor and you want to be successful, you must focus on listings. You can't be
Yeah.
focused on
On buyers.
first time buyers. Those are like the gravy, but the meat and
Yeah.
potatoes is getting someone to trust you to list their property correctly and sell it. And the
Yeah.
same with my wholesaling business is if you're in the business of wholesaling property and
Yeah.
you're moving other people's contracts, so say my buddy's got a contract, he's like, "Oh, help me sell it and we'll split it
Yeah.
or whatever." That's cool, and I can bring all my guys out and everyone looks at it, and then he sells it short to his guy and I get $0. Welcome to
Yeah.
being a buyer agent.
Yeah.
So once, that's always the gravy, but I said to myself, if you really want to make a business where you're going to have income, you have to
Yeah.
be the one helping sellers solve the problem of selling.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Whether you're a real estate agent, whether you're an investor, whether you're the first, like this is your first, you're trying to find your first fix and flip, you need to be focused on helping the seller sell. It's
Yeah.
not about you helping yourself buy. That's
No.
a result of
Yeah.
helping sellers with their problem
Yeah.
and getting the house in return for the problem. Because
Yeah.
if you approach it with the mentality that you just want to buy something, good luck. You're going to
Yeah.
have a difficult time doing that because it's against the grain of what the actual problem is. No one's selling a house
Right.
because no one's selling a house short because they want to. They're
No,
selling a house short
because they
because
need to.
they need to. And if you can figure out what that problem is,
Right.
that's really where the solution becomes, like, especially like as a off-market real estate investor, we have the ability to do things that lawyers don't like. Like, we
Yeah.
have ability to do things that real estate agents don't like, because
Yeah.
we'll buy the C can. The guy's like, I
Yeah.
can't move because I need a $5,000 C can in the backyard to put all my stuff in and go to Victoria. But if you
Yeah.
do that, I'll give you a $50,000 spread between what you could sell it for and what it's actually worth. And so for 5 grand, we buy $48,000 of wholesale fees, because
Right.
we can do that. And the realtor will not put themselves into the game to
Yeah.
get that sort of return. So solving the problem increased the value of the equity of the deal. Maybe we could have negotiated that some other way, but really
Yeah.
to solve the problem is to buy the house. And so I've actually, in the last couple of years, is I don't people are like, "Oh, you're the we buy houses." I'm like, "No, I'm in the we buy problems." And in
Yeah.
return, I get you must have dealt with, as an investment realtor, they deal with the problem properties. You probably dealt with some like creative.
Here's the thing. I only really learned creative financing, creative deal structuring when I stepped out of my realtor shoes and I put on my investor shoes. And it sounds funny, but like, OPM, which I understand now, at the beginning of my career as a realtor, when someone was doing OPM, I was like, oh, they're pulling a scam. This
Yeah,
is fraud, right? I didn't understand it. But then when I started listening to, online coaches and mentors, and like, for example, Stefan Arnio and all these other coaches I've been following, I started understanding how to step out of the realtor shoes and how to become, put on the investor shoes. And that's when the whole game changed for me, because I understood creative financing and creative deal structuring, which
yeah,
deal structuring in itself is a skill set. And, we coach people here too in Montreal on how to purchase property. And one thing I tell them is, when you're talking to a seller, when I'm dealing with a seller, I want to get to know them as much as possible. Ask them questions and, if I ask you at face value, hey, why are you selling this property? You're going to say, well, it's time to cash out the investment and move on.
yeah. I want to pay off some debt.
Yeah. But then if I keep talking to you, I find out, hey, you were working at, a corporate job at 120,000 a year that you got cut, and now you're a CSR for, Bell Mobility working at 60, 70,000. Well, now I understand the problem. Your
Yeah,
salary changed. You can't keep up with the property maintenance and everything. And now I could provide, like you said, a
yeah.
solution
You're
to
only
the
going to
problem.
find that out like 2 or 3 or 4 questions.
But realtors don't understand that, right? It's face value, right?
Yeah,
Like
they're like, why do
very,
you want to sell? Because I do. Okay,
yeah,
here's the listing agreement. All right.
right.
One thing that really helped me with my dealing with sellers is I took the NEPQ course with Jeremy Miner. I don't know if you're familiar
Okay.
with Jeremy Miner's stuff.
I'm not,
If
unfortunately.
you're listening and you're watching the episode, check him out, because um, something that happened, because I've been doing real estate since 2015, private side, dealing with sellers for a decade now. And it used to be that you could tell someone something and they might believe you. There's a chance.
Yeah.
Telling, selling, you're familiar. "Oh, everything
Yeah.
will be fine." And the person will be like, okay, he said everything's going to be fine. So I trust
Must
him.
be.
And then COVID hits, right? Nobody believes anything. AI is everywhere now. You can't even
Yeah.
trust the videos you're watching. You can't trust the articles and pictures you're looking at.
No.
And so the only thing that people believe now is themselves.
Right.
And so what really helped me with the NEPQ stuff with Jeremy Miner's course is having people asking the questions that allow people to justify their decisions in the moment. So
Right.
without selling, do you think I think it's time to sell the house. Do you think it's time to sell the house?
Yeah.
Is just a simple thing like that. Like, "You think it's time to sell the house?" And they're like, "Yes, I think it's
Yeah.
time to sell the house." And then you say, "Good, that I think you're right." But if you
Right.
tell them, "I think it's time to sell the house," and they'll be like, "Cool, thanks for your opinion, bro."
No one
So
asked.
Jeremy
Yeah.
Minor stuff really helped me stop telling and start asking better questions.
Things.
I
Right.
think I think it was Grant Cardone who said, "If you want better answers, ask better
Better
questions."
questions.
And so that's
Yeah.
really been my focus over the last couple years is learning how to peel the onion and figure out what's really going on.
Yeah.
You can't solve a problem you can't identify.
No.
And so you
No.
really have to know all the things. Like, what was it the other day? Someone called me off of the flyer and they were saying something like, the city's trying to buy all the land on this street and they're trying to take it through tax sale and they're playing games. They're saying I haven't paid my taxes in 2 or 3 years or whatever. And I got the receipts. I'm going to go down there. And I'm like, okay, what do you think the chances are that they just haven't paid the taxes on that thing?
Right.
Probably, maybe. And so I said to them, I said, I believe them. You say, I believe you. You should go down there and get that handled. I'm actually, fairly well educated in the city Winnipeg's tax sales system. So if you need any help with that, don't don't hesitate to call me so we can work this out because September 30th is our cutoff for tax sale in Manitoba. And so
Right.
it's coming up. And so I'm dealing with 2 or 3 tax sale properties right now where if they go to the 30th, everything becomes due for the last 5 years. And then
Right.
that's like a punishing amount that they just can't
Yeah.
get out of and they have to sell. So kind of
Yeah.
like your example, maybe they had a job and they don't have a job no more.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring that up is I had to kind of claw away at her reality a little bit to dig past the nonsense of what she's like.
Trying to sell you.
I don't know that she's telling me the truth.
Right.
I don't know that she even believes what she's saying.
Well, like, let's be honest, right? If I'm a seller that's in hot water and I haven't paid my taxes in 5 years and I get your flyer, am I really going to get undressed right away and say, yeah, I haven't paid taxes in 5 years? Like, I don't know, it's at face value, meeting someone right away. Yeah. Which is why you have to like you said, claw through it and really get to the root, like, yeah, because people won't tell you everything all at once. They'll tell you bits and pieces of parts spread out. I
Kind of be
mean,
like a border agent. You got to ask them
yeah,
3 different ways the same
yeah,
question.
yeah. So let's talk about wholesaling. You do a lot of wholesaling and everything. What made you pick that model? Because it is fairly less common or less talked about in Canada
Oh
as it
yeah.
is in the United States, right? And I know here in Quebec, wholesaling is like nobody does it, right?
Well, they're kind of afraid. The government
Yeah,
goes out of their way, the real estate board, the securities, they all go out of their way to tell you you can't because they want all the deals to go through real estate agents and securities is in bed with the real estate agents because the real estate agents need securities to enforce the rules, but fundamentally there's nothing stopping you from buying your neighbor's house privately. And then the second step is, let's say that I had an agreement with you in Montreal to buy your house in 2 months.
right.
Okay. And you're my neighbor. We're just two guys striking it up. I'm mowing my lawn. You're mowing my. I'm like, why are you mowing your lawn? "Oh, I'm getting ready to sell my house. And I'm like, I'll buy it. And you're like, cool. And we sit
Right,
down and we print out the offer to purchase in Quebec and we fill it out together and we witness each other's signatures and everything's fine and fine. We're going to send this to the lawyers. They're going to make sure we didn't screw it up. Everything's cool. And then we're having a barbecue, like a going away barbecue. You're in my backyard and a couple of other neighbors on the same street or we're all hanging out in my backyard. And I get to talking like, "Oh yeah, I'm buying his house next door." And some guy, one of the other neighbors says like, "What are you going to do with it?" I said, "Well, I don't know. It's kind of nice. Maybe I'll just rent it out. At least I can control who lives next door to me, right?" And the
yeah,
other guy says, "Well, actually, I've been trying to move into the school district for like 5 years. Ever since I've been
right,
hanging out with you guys, I've been trying to move my kids next door." And I'd be like, "That's cool. Why don't you just buy the contract off of me and move in next door? Give me 10 grand and I'll step off the contract and you can close."
right.
So fundamentally, tell me what's wrong with that.
Nothing, nothing. As a guy who
Right?
started off as a realtor, nothing at all. The only fundamentally nothing wrong, but they like the associations like to control it, right? And make
Right.
stats out of it and commissions and commission splits and
Yeah,
even
so
like you
buddy gives me 10 grand. and I sign over the paperwork,
Contract.
or I sit down with you and and over a handshake agreement, we just rewrite it. He writes it with you and it's a straight
Yeah.
shot, and maybe we
Everybody's
even
happy.
split it. You know,
Yeah.
I give you 5 and I keep 5 and everyone's happy, and I would have bought it anyways, but you know, you're more motivated and you're going to be my neighbor. This new guy's going to be the neighbor anyhow, and our kids go to hockey together and cool. So I
Yeah.
sell it to him short and I'm out. And so that's the exact mentality that we're playing this game of wholesaling. I go out into the marketplace and I find people that need to sell for whatever reason, want to sell for whatever reason. And I know people who want to buy in these neighborhoods. They want to be that neighbor. They want to own that property for whatever
Right.
reason. They want to fix it or they want to rent it, whatever. And
Yeah.
so I know these people and I find these people, and I could easily just say, all my buyers, forget it. This year I'm buying everything. And I could buy
Yeah.
everything and raise the
Yeah.
other people's money and do all these deals and buy all the rentals, and I could sell none of them.
Yeah.
But in the business of lead generation, to really get to the best stuff, you have to kind of sort out some stuff that's not for you. And so
100%.
to throw all these things back in the lake doesn't make any sense. I'm going to keep these other fish, I'm going to bring them back to the docks, and I'm going to sell them to the people who had no luck
100%.
today,
100%.
and they can buy these rentals. I'm not looking for this kind of fish, but I checked before I went out on the lake that,
Yeah.
you know, he wants nothing but catfish. And I'm like, okay, whatever, man. And so I go out and I'm catching all these catfish, and he's going to eat them or whatever he's going to do with them. And I don't care, but he's paying me $5 a fish. So I'm going to keep
Yeah.
catching them. And I just spend all my time out in the marketplace finding opportunity. And I pay a
Right.
guy $800 a week to deliver my message so that I'm free to do the really. So whenever a
Yeah.
call comes in, like while we're on this podcast, 16 minutes ago, I miss a call. So I'll call them back.
Yeah.
You know, I've got other people, hey, returning your call, returning your call. Hey, when can we see this other property? Because I'm marketing, I'm reaching
Yeah.
out to the buyers saying, I've
Right.
got this other thing. And so wholesaling in Canada is very possible. It's actually a lot more profitable because less people are doing it, as well as it might be harder to find property. But in the United States, there's escrow, and
Right.
escrow means no money changes hands until the deal closes. So you might have a screaming $50,000 wholesale fee coming, but it's closing in February of 2026. In
Right.
Canada, we just say, give me the fee now and I'll sign it over now. We
Yeah.
do all of our fees in the front. And
Yeah.
I feel like fees in the front ensure that the person who's buying is one, serious, two, that they're going to close. If there's no money down, then I feel like there's nothing holding them back. And then when the closing table shows up, they disappear in the night. It's like,
Yeah. And everyone's happy in the end. Yeah. And everyone's happy in the end. Like, look, like every investor has their buy box, right? What they buy. Like I like buy and holds, and I like to buy value add buy and holds, right? But will I disregard a single family home that's a fix and flip? No, because I know that a colleague of mine that I've done deals with in the past buy these types of deals, right? It's like you
mhm,
said, it's kind of like throwing a perfectly good fish back in the water, and I think that, and for example, the same way that there's end investors out there, right? Guys who want to do fix and flips and value adds on buy and holds or single families that don't necessarily have the time to go out and do the lead generation and research to find these properties. And that's when a wholesaler comes in play, and having a good relationship with a wholesaler, because I know that Bryce will call me when he has a deal that he thinks meets Larry's criteria, right?
mhm.
And that's, having that healthy system and that healthy flow. But that comes from 10 years. Like you said, you've been doing this from 2015, right? So
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I think that if you're wanting to become a wholesaler, you have to imagine the reality that you're not actually a wholesaler. Wholesaling is the strategy. You don't call yourself a buy and holder, do you? No, you're a
real
real
estate,
estate investor,
yeah,
right? So if you really want to take wholesaling the mentality and flip the switch, you have to change the way you look at it, because wholesaling is the exit. But what
right,
you're actually doing is real estate consulting, because
right,
I'm consulting over here with this seller who has a problem, and I'm consulting with my buyers to see if we can solve the problem. And then I will put the paperwork all in play so that the party B can execute on contract A and solve the problem, and I'm only paid a consulting fee. I'm paid for the time spent on the left with the seller and my marketing spend and my recouping my costs to
Right.
generate business, and I'm paid by the buyer because I've collapsed a time frame for them. I've consulted, I've looked the basement over, I've checked if there's permits, I've done all the underlying inspections, and like I've seen enough houses to know that this one's not good or this
Yeah.
one is good.
Yeah.
So if you really want to change the frame around wholesaling for someone who's looking to get into it, wholesaling is the exit strategy, like flipping. You know, some people call
Nice.
themselves flippers, cool, but they're
Yeah.
actually real estate investors. And some
100%.
people call themselves, they don't call themselves buy and holders. They're real estate
Landlords.
landlords,
Yeah.
but they're real
Yeah.
estate investors at the
Yeah.
end of the game. And so if you really want to change the way you look at it and really allow you to more understand what's actually happening, is you're a real estate consultant taking a consulting fee for setting it all up and someone knocks it all down. You know, you might go into a
Exactly.
business and consult on their marketing strategy. Are you actually going to execute that strategy? No. You're
Mm.
going to give it to their marketing team and they're going to pull
Yeah.
the trigger on that thing, and you're going to talk all day with the owners and the problems and the customers, and you're going to figure out what's the problem here, and then you're going
Yeah.
to put together the strategy. They're going to execute it and you're going to get paid a fee and you're out, and you're going to go on to the next thing, consult with them, consulting all the way around.
Yeah.
So wholesaling gets a bad rap because they're not fulfilling the spirit of the real estate consultant. They're
No.
just, I'm going to buy this as cheap as I can and I'm going to sell it for as much as I can. It's like, okay, you might be able to do that 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 times a year.
Yeah.
When you stop going for 5 things and the most cheapest price and the most you can get for it, and you start consulting and saying, these are going to be my clients. I'm going to generate sales leads all day and I'm going to sell them to my clients and I'm going to consult with everyone to make it happen. And you get into like the 20, 30, 50 transactions a year. Now it's a business. Before
Yeah.
that, it's like a hobby.
Yeah.
So
Part-time. Yeah.
it's all up here. I think and you know this probably best. Real estate is a lot, a lot to do with the way you frame things in your head, like the way you look at things. People are like in wholesaling, there's a thing called partner approval, right? We're gonna
Okay.
have a due diligence clause of some sort that allows us to tie the contract up and then bring the buyers to take a second look and finish the deal. And people were like, I feel some type of way because I'm like not being true. You know, these aren't really my partners. These are like buyers. And I feel some type of way. I'm like, hold on a second. When you bought this contract, when you put this contract together, and then you called these buyers, there's a brief moment where you're going to have a partnership. When you shake hands and do the paperwork, the partnership begins and ends there. So, for
Right.
all accounts and purposes, these are going to be your partners in this deal. Not all of them. One of them is going to
Yeah.
become the partner on this deal for that brief moment where your control of the asset is transferred to them and you're out. But you
Yeah.
had to make a partnership happen. So believe in your head, wholesalers out there, real estate consultants out there, these buyers are your partners. They are
100%.
going to partner with you for a brief moment and do this deal.
100%. No, I couldn't. And that's where it comes into shifting the mentality, right? The mindset, and which a lot of people I do believe struggle with, like this, the same people that we see sometimes struggling with getting their first deal will eventually struggle with the mindset. The way when I was a realtor, I struggled with the investor mindset and I didn't understand creative deal structuring, financing, and all that, right? And then when I changed that mindset and I opened my whole strategy up to like OPM and creative deal structuring, and I realized it's not necessarily just buy and sell like I was used to doing as a realtor. There was a whole other world in real estate investing once I changed my mindset.
Well,
So,
interesting. Like I've actually this year I've started going even further into creative
okay,
financing, and I've managed to, let's say, we'll use the word wholesale for thing. Wholesale contracts that have vendor financing included. So I wholesale the deal, and the partner that's taking over the contract assumes the rent to own contract, the lease option consideration, and
right,
puts the money down, and seller becomes the seller becomes the
bank,
pays in mortgage position one, and the new flipper comes in and is able to flip a deal that has a slim margin because we didn't have to change hands. We didn't have to vendor finance.
Right.
So when the seller stays on as the holder, we did two of those this year, actually. So save a bunch of fees, make the deal happen. It's going to be the bank's money or your money, and you've already moved out, and the tenants are moving out. Like, why don't you just lend the money?
Right.
Your money's already in place. We'll continue to hold it. And so once you start to break down even further that not only does money not even have to change hands, but that you can start doing creative real estate without even having your name on the property so much
Yeah.
as you control the asset instead of
Yeah.
actually owning it. Like it can get other people's money, other people's titles, other people's labor. And all you had to do was consult on the whole thing. You said the walls should be white and the floor should be gray and the kitchen should be quartz. And then other people go and do that. And the money spent on that is other people's money. And oh, who owns this house? This is somebody else's house. And at the
Somebody else is
end,
going to buy it.
and then
Yeah.
somebody else buys it when it's all said and done. And who
Yeah.
makes the money? Oh, I'm taking half the profit. And I never owned it. All I did was control all the pieces and make it happen. And that's really something that people don't get about money, people, deal. There's the triangle, right?
Yeah.
Money, people, deal. And people think about it simply as money, people, deal. If you have two, you can attract the third. But what really happens is if you can embody the middle of the triangle, and if you look at some of the later versions of that book, we actually put like the Illuminati eye in the middle, the
I
ultimate
saw it.
eye. Because I would always say to Stefan, like, we're really in the middle.
Yeah.
We're managing the money, managing the deal, managing the people. And if you can really embody being the center of a transaction, but not actually become, this, we're
Transaction.
not working on it ourselves. We're not putting our own money into it. Maybe we didn't even find it, but someone found it. So other people are working on it. Other people's money is in it, but we convinced the realtor to sell it to us. We
Yeah.
convinced the contractor to give us a good deal and do the
Yeah.
deal at some price. And we convinced the money to lend at a good rate. And then we just
Yeah.
hang out in the middle of the triangle and make sure that we oversee these. And so some people look at it as a frame, like, oh, it's a cool diagram, but really embody the centerist of the triangle and say, I'm a money, people, deal broker. I
Yeah.
broker money. I broker people. I've brokered roofing contracts this year. I've made money just connecting people who need roofs and a roofing company.
Yeah, man.
I've made money wholesaling property. I've made money wholesaling money,
Yeah.
connecting people with money. So
Yeah.
understand that each of the three can be brokered out, as well as embody the fact that people, if you really want to be a real estate investor, it's embodying the middle, which is you are a money, people, deal broker. You broker those
Yeah.
things, you set them up, and then you manage your triangles. Just manage
Yeah.
however many triangles you can set up.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I
Uh,
read that book, it changed everything for me.
Me too. And I read it physically twice. I listened to the audiobook twice. And every time I read it, I just get more and more bits from it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I just get more and more bits. And it's just like that really helped like me to understand the three elements to making a deal, right?
Yeah.
Because you do need money, you do need people, and you do need a deal, right?
Yeah.
And like I love the chapter Coca-Cola versus drug dealers pay everybody. And it goes back to what you were saying before, partnerships, right? If everyone's making a little something, it becomes a partnership. People know that Bryce does good business because I could buy a deal off of him at a good value, or that if I sell it to him, I'll make my assignment fee, right? Great book, and what you had said before about like making money, not real estate related, like making money, connecting people with money and stuff like that. I learned that too. I have a client of mine that we've done some deals together in the past who owns an air conditioning franchise. So every time I take on a new building, or I take on, or I connect with an investor who has a building, I make money selling ACs
Mhm.
indirectly. I said, your building would be great for ACs, and I make a certain amount back, from the contracts,
Just
right?
by connecting them.
And
Yeah.
what does it take? Nothing out of my day, because I'm still there talking to that seller. I'm still there meeting him. I'm still doing my principal duties as a real estate investor, and that's just like an extra, right? And money, people, deal. That's what it comes down to.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned you've read it a few times and listened to it a few times. Every time it seems like someone reads it. Because I've dealt with lots of people who've read that book over the years, because that was one of our like principal books in the coaching program. And you're not wrong to experience that, because it seems that there's different chapters in there that early in your career, you just like skim it. You're like,
Yeah.
cool. But
Yeah.
you read it you read it 5 years later and you're like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
okay, I'm ready to absorb this
Yeah.
knowledge right now. And the other cool part is listening to the audiobook, because it's him actually doing the audiobooks. You get that energy out of it. But you know, with a book like that, you can read it all the way through real quick. It's like 200
Yeah.
pages. So you could probably read it. Like, funny enough, when I started with Stefan, he said, "Read this book, and when you're done, you can come back and work for me." So I got the book. He made me pay $20 for it. I was like, okay. And I read it overnight and I came back. I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. He's like, okay, cool. But I was actually the fourth person to try that job before it stuck. So there was like three
Right.
other people ahead of me that didn't pan out. And I think the thing that the thing that makes people go for real estate is the unlimited ceiling. And the only
Right.
way you actually are grateful of the unlimited income ceiling is if you've been in a job that had a limited income ceiling. Like, oh, used to work in the union job, and it wasn't about how good I was. It was about how many minutes I spent in this chair. So I had
Yeah.
done that for years prior at the city of Winnipeg, where, I saw people getting raises and raises and raises. I'm like, I know way more. I'm way more qualified to do that. And they're getting better jobs in the city and stuff. And I'm like, why are they getting, oh, because they've worked full time and they have more seniority than you. And it's like, so it has nothing to do with how qualified they are, other than that they've, been breathing in this office more than me. Is that what
Yeah.
you're
I mean, just because you do it longer doesn't mean you do it better, right? My uncle's been driving for 30 years and he still doesn't know how to drive. He
saying?
still can't drive properly, right? So, so,
Yeah, I
so,
was out in Vancouver, and you want to talk about not knowing how to drive? Like, it's
yeah.
crazy out there. If you've ever driven on the number one into Vancouver, because we were staying in Surrey and driving in and out and in and out, and there's a speed limit posted on the side. It says like 100 or something, but if you're in the left lane, get out of the
50.
way.
Yeah.
They'll come by at 150, 160, and some people want to do 70s, but it's it's wild. Like, if I can't imagine what that thing is going to be. Like, people are like, oh, okay, BC real estate is like floundering. Toronto real
Yeah.
estate is floundering, down
Yeah.
40% year over year.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
It was overvalued. People were playing speculation and people lost, like it's like roulette.
Yeah.
Canadian real estate in speculative markets like Toronto is like a 1 year long betting of roulette. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay. And then at the end of the year, they spin the old wheel and everybody loses except number 15
Yeah.
and red or black. And a bunch of people hedged the market. Some people bought a third of the market. Some people put all their money on 27, and the guy comes with this big hook and goes into the
Yeah.
hole. All the money goes into the hole. And that's speculative real estate. But one thing that's interesting is if you go to these places, like you're in, I think you're in the Ontario market, right? You're in,
Montreal.
and so what is the next connecting city of any size?
Wow. Would be if we're talking about like in Quebec, it would be
No,
Quebec
like
City.
Montreal, and then
Okay. Okay, Laval. Yeah.
and how big is Laval?
Couldn't even almost as big in Montreal in terms of like land.
Population.
That's a good question. I should really know that.
People moving to Montreal can't afford to live in Montreal, so they live where?
Oh, that's so they go generally out to the outskirts,
Okay.
either I'm going to say 45 minutes to an hour north, south, east, west, all that surrounding area.
So if you want to know what's happening next year, drive northwest, southeast, drive on the major highway in
Yeah.
any direction and take note of what part they're expanding or fixing or adding a
Yeah.
ramp, and you will know
What's going
what's
on?
going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because for people in BC, you wouldn't really know unless you drove in and out of Vancouver. If you didn't drive out of Vancouver as far as you could, you
Yeah.
wouldn't know that they're twinning the highway all the way to Abbotsford.
Yeah. Right.
Like, they don't announce, yeah, I'm sure you could go on BC Drive and find out the roadwork project, but they're building roads in such a fashion that it's overwhelming. You'd have to dish through it and find out
Yeah.
project. But just knowing that the way that the traffic moves into Vancouver,
Right.
that they're about to blow up Abbotsford. Abbotsford is about to triple in size.
Yeah.
So if you're like one of those people in BC and you're like, oh, what should I do? The market's so tight. Follow the end of the highway until the blacktop ends.
Yeah.
Start, and not even till it ends, because go beyond the end of the construction and you can see the sticks in the ground in the ditch of the
Yeah.
future of real estate, because they're
Yeah.
going to connect. They're connecting Vancouver and Kamloops. They're connecting
Right.
Vancouver all the way. They're trying to make it 2 or 3 lanes all the way to Kamloops, all the way to Merritt, all the way to number 5. There, I think, after driving, because I just drove to Vancouver and back, after driving from Calgary to Vancouver, they're trying to connect those 2 cities.
Wow.
From Calgary, you can do 120 all the way through the mountains. They've
Wow.
twinned that worst part of the highway. So the
Yeah.
trucking route, and then they've tripled the number 5 highway. So there's only about 300 more kilometers, and there's major projects. They're blowing up the
Right.
mountains. They're twinning everything. So don't be surprised when the value of Vancouver real estate blows up. Like, we think it's
Yeah.
overvalued today. Forget
Yeah.
it. Right
Yeah.
now, if you buy something in Vancouver in 5 years, it's going to be worth probably double than what it is today. That $1 million house is going to be 2.5, because
Yeah.
if you can get in your car and drive from Vancouver to Calgary, like, you can make Kamloops to Vancouver in about 3 hours. If you can go from Kamloops to Calgary in 4, and you can drive from Calgary to Vancouver in 7 hours, that's going to change everything.
Right.
And right now they're stretching the Sky Train all the way out to Langley. And Langley is going to be the next thing, and then they're going to stretch the Sky Train to Abbotsford fully. And then
Yeah.
Vancouver's not just going to be the island of Vancouver and Surrey. It's going to be Vancouver major greater metro area until
Yeah.
it goes all the way out to Abbotsford. Abbotsford's going to blow up, and it's just going to keep stretching and stretching through the valley. Like, Vancouver's this close, and everyone's like,
Yeah.
oh, the Vancouver market. But if you're buying and holding and you've got some investment capital, you could go into the fringe like Abbotsford and Langley, the north side of the Fraser River, and these spots as it goes through the valley, and buy stuff today that's going to double in 5 years.
Yeah.
So if you're listening and you're thinking, oh, I got to get my money out of BC, false. The
Yeah.
money is 1000% going to be there, because people are tired of Toronto.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can see the immigration. Yeah, immigration's slightly down in Vancouver Greater. But when you look at the statistics and you say something like 43% of the people living in Abbotsford are not first generation Canadians.
Right.
And if you think that's going to stop, there's no houses for sale in Abbotsford.
Right.
Unless you want something that's like, I think the first house, because we stopped there to get gas, and I'm like, Abbotsford Realtor does. I had to go to page 27 to find a house for sale, a
Yeah.
single family detached house, and I think it was like $2 million.
Yeah.
Other houses in other areas that are for sale, but that's just going to show that they're going to bring that highway out. And if you think it's going to get easier to buy a house in Abbotsford, you're 1,000% wrong.
Yeah.
So if you go into Abbotsford and you just bought some land right now, because they're not done
Yeah.
yet. World
Yeah.
Cup 2028?
Yeah. It's going to be there, I think. Yeah.
Exactly.
Vancouver.
And how long do you
Yeah.
think it's going to take them to connect that highway? 2026?
620.
So you can drive from Calgary to watch the soccer game in 7 hours and stay in one of the $1,000 hotels per night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. It's unbelievable. If I didn't drive it, you wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
This really does go to say, people spend a lot of time trying to virtualize their real estate business. They're like, oh, I could generate leads on Facebook, and I could sit at my desk, and I could do this business anywhere. And it's like, cool, but you're never going to know what's going on unless you get in your car and you drive to where it's going on, and you look at it and you say, what's going on? And you ask the guy
Yeah.
who's standing there, you say, what's going on?
Yeah.
Then you'll actually know what's going on and what is happening in your marketplace. So be
Yeah.
careful that you don't become like in a tower of your own real estate. Get out there, get in the streets, Go and eat at the cheapest diner in town that serves
Yeah.
fried bologna and eggs for $4.99. Like, get out
Yeah.
there and, like,
Connect with people.
connect with people. But remember too that the deals that you want, those people don't even have computers.
I know.
Like, some of those sellers
I know.
don't even have cell phones. You can't
Or an
PDF them.
email
You
or
have to
no
go to their,
Yeah.
like, I signed this offer up last night, and he has no computer. His cell phone is a flip phone. I
Yeah.
have to go and get paper. And this is the fourth time I've written this offer with him, because him and his brother back and forth, back and forth. But I think this one's gonna, so I set myself
Yeah.
more partner approval time. I'm gonna get
Yeah.
this one done. But
Yeah.
that deal would never happen if
If
you
you
were,
didn't get, yeah.
because somehow he fell into a pay-per-click lead. Somehow he went to a library and or filled out a form, but he doesn't own a computer. He doesn't do that stuff. So go
Right.
out in the field, knock on some doors, see what's happening, follow the highway, see where it's going. And the future in real estate isn't what has been done. The
Right.
marketing changes, real estate changes, trends change. Humans don't.
No.
But
No.
where the next, city is going to blow up, where the next municipality is about to become part of, and it just kicks me every time I come back to Winnipeg and I look around and I'm like, this is the biggest small town I've ever been in. This is
Yeah.
such a joke. This city is such a joke. We put stoplights on our freeways. The number one highway comes into Winnipeg, and you go down to 70 for like through the whole new development of Headingley, and you have to
Yeah.
go down. It's a speed trap. The guys are waiting for people to speed to catch you, and you have to go through that to get on the bypass.
Yeah.
And even Regina did it better. Regina has an amazing bypass. If you don't want to go to Regina, you don't have to. You just stay on that highway and you watch
Yeah.
it on the left side and you drive all the way around and you're out. You never even stop going 100 and something. So,
Yeah.
like, Winnipeg, the province of Manitoba, anyone listening in the Winnipeg, building stuff, it's provincial. It's a provincial problem. So, Wob Canoe, fix the highways, fix our economy. This is a joke. You're letting the city
Yeah.
dictate national transportation, and you're not doing anything about it. So,
Yeah.
if you're listening, get it together, because we're a joke. We're a national joke.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Bryce, you know what, man? It's been great having you on, chatting with you, and just real quick before we wrap this up, if anyone's looking to follow you, follow your content like I've been following or connect with you, what's the best way of getting in touch with you?
Instagram at Bryce Kaminsky. That's the easiest way. You can see all of my content and my short videos. I'm not putting those short videos out because I want to sell you something. I'm putting those short videos out there so that you can collapse the time frame and make less mistakes. So go and watch them all. They're there for free for a reason. If you really need help, reach out to me. We can figure that out. But some people need help with the consistency of it. And if you need someone
Yeah.
in your corner to push you through it, cool. If you just need the information, reach out to me. I'll send you all the information for free. I don't care. Information is dead. YouTube is amazing. Information is everywhere. But if you need help implementing that information, that's where guys like myself and yourself, we come in. Some people just need that implementation touch. So don't come to me for information. It's everywhere. I have some. Check it out, Bryce at Bryce Kaminsky on Instagram. But if you need actual implementation help, that's where I can actually help you get your first deal done. Figure out how to get your first wholesale done. I'm not here to hold your hand your whole career. Go and be free. Fly
Yeah.
away, birdie. But I'll
Yeah.
help you get started, because that's what I specialize. The mindset, breaking down the mindset and all the myths and things that go and holding people back from getting their first deal done. That's what I specialize in. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me at Bryce Kaminsky Instagram.
Amazing. Bryce, thank you again for coming on. And for anyone listening, be sure to like, follow, comment, subscribe wherever you're listening. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're on Instagram and Facebook. And until next time, guys, see you soon.